show.
Welcome to Millena, the talk show, where we talk about things that everyone thinks about but rarely ever says.
And I want you to make sure you tune in with Millena because she's a friend of mine. Keep it real.
Welcome to Millena, the talk show. Today we're going to be talking about obliviously obnoxious people. Now, we all think about these people and we see them all the time who they cut in line. They play their music so loud riding down the street. They just have their phone on speakerphone walking through the store, walking through the mall. They are so rude, so obnoxious. We think, what are these people thinking? Well, today we're going to talk about it with today's guest, Lord Jimmy. We'll be right back with our life coach, Lord Jimmy. Welcome back, and today we're here with Lord Jimmy Wilson. He is a life coach, and he's going to talk with us about the mentality and psychology of people who do rude things all the time. What's up with that? So thank you for joining us today, Jimmy, Lord Jimmy.
My pleasure to be here.
Well, first let's get into what's up with the Lord business.
Well, I'm actually a country boy. I come from Arkansas, but I own land. I have my family's land since 1890, so I'm the heir of the land. So I'm into British, history. So I'm a landlord.
I love it. I love it. Well, and then that is your title, and that is befitting of you.
Thank you.
So you are Lord Jimmy. So now, Jimmy, what made you decide to be a life coach?
Growing up, there's a lot of questions that don't get answered in your upbringing when your parents are kind of into themselves. And to be successful, you have to know a lot of things. It's one thing to just go through life and figure things out by accident. But so I realize that most people don't know what they're doing. They're just falling through life and making mistakes as they go. And then you get older, you get very damaged from all the mistakes. So I decided to teach people how to make life work so that they could do it and be successful at it, as opposed to just making a bunch of mistakes and making excuses for why they never arrived.
Wow, that's very nice of you to help our fellow human beings. And so I know you have a lot of success stories, I'm sure. What are some of the ways that you well, first of all, let's back up a little bit. People who are obnoxious. I'm sure you've encountered some in your experiences.
Yes, daily.
Yes. Can you give me a couple of examples of these obnoxious people, what they have done, and how did you address them?
Well, you alluded to it. I mean, mostly it's people who are socially obnoxious, where we all have manners of how we behave in groups and things like that, and they're just loud. They're on their cell phones. They're cutting line. They're arguing with people when they've obviously made mistakes and not taking responsibility for their own actions. So it's just outside of the norm, and it just makes people cringe. And the bad part is that when you have manners, you have to deal with them, and they get to do whatever they want to.
Yeah, and that's not fair. It's like, why do I have to be, appropriate and proper, and they get to do anything they want to?
That's right.
I was reading an article the other day, and the gentleman's name is Lord Robert Winston.
See?
And he's British, and he was actually the founder of IVF treatments. And so he was on a train one day, and he was minding his business, going on a 2-hour train ride, and there was this woman with her child sitting a couple of rows ahead. She decided to ignore the child and then get on the telephone.
Right.
Loudly. And was on for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and it went on for 1 solid hour.
Right.
This one-sided conversation. And he said he was trying to ignore it, but the train was quiet. Otherwise, her speaking.
Right.
So he got so annoyed that he started to tweet about it. And so he tweeted his 40,000 followers about this woman's behavior on the train. And so then when the train stopped, he left. But because some of the media were following him, they got wind of it, and so they met the train at the station. And so the woman, she was bombarded all of a sudden with all of these people, like, what happened? And they're like, well, how did you feel? What were you talking about? Why were you so...
Right.
And so her reaction to him, guess what?
Right.
How rude. Right, she called him rude.
Goes, yes.
And so it was this back and forth thing. And so it's very interesting how she perceived him as rude when the impetus for the whole thing was her being rude.
Right.
So what's your take on that?
Well, you have to understand a lot of people are only aware of themselves. So, as you expand your horizons, you can see other people. You can see your family. You can see the people at work. You can see the people that are socially there, why we have civilization, why we pay taxes. This is all obvious to you, but most people are struggling so much with themselves that they don't see beyond themselves. So to them, it's just how they're reacting, how they're feeling, what's happening to them. Just like a baby. A baby will walk out into traffic and not think about it, or they want something and can't have it and then act out. So most people are in that level of awareness where they're not perceiving beyond what's real to them.
Right. She had no idea that she was being obnoxious to anyone. That's the way most people are.
Yeah.
But now, so in your opinion, how could that have been handled differently? Let's say it were you instead of Lord Robert Winston. If you were on the train and you heard someone, what would you do?
I'm old school, so I would have put on some earbuds. That's just, there's only one handle for it, is to block it out.
Okay, just block it out.
Yeah, I mean, I always tell people, you can argue with a stop sign, but it won't turn green.
Oh, that's
So,
a good one.
And then if you see a crazy person that's talking into the air, why would you try to reason with them? There's nobody home. So certain things in life, you just kind of have to see it for what it is, and then move on with what you're doing with your life.
Okay, that's very good. That's a good tip. Okay. So, but now this is the thing: we find ourselves living in a time of incredible rudeness.
Right.
I mean, social media has taught us that we have to have an opinion about everything right this second.
Right.
And we're going to tell everyone what that opinion is right this second, right now, and that's that. And that helps us feel assured and vindicated and proud. Because that's what social media has done to us.
Right.
It's terrible. But as a life coach, and you help people, what are other ways, aside from being a Twitter monster, what are other ways that we can, as people, feel assertive and confident and self-assured without being rude to other people?
Sure. So the most important part of it is to have a purpose for your life, right? To have a purpose for your day, and then to have check marks that you're trying to accomplish during your day, so that you don't get distracted by the chaos of what's going on. You could sit and watch TV and see storms in other countries or other states. You can see wars and people being hurt, and it can ruin your whole life just by focusing on those things.
Yeah.
So you're going to run into this daily as you go through life. The idea is that you have your plan of what you're trying to accomplish, and don't get too excited or invested in what other people are doing.
Okay, that's a really good
But you kind of have to, the trick to life is to maintain your own position.
Maintain your own
and play the game that you're there to play, and not get distracted by what other people are doing.
So essentially, stay in your lane, as
Pretty
they
much,
say. Just
yeah.
stay in your lane and focus on what you have to do.
That's right.
Keep going. But what if someone tries to come into your lane? What if someone cuts you off in traffic?
And you got to no.
See there. I mean, hypothetically, and realistically, what if they cut you off in traffic? And how do you?
Well, my discipline is about being in control of self. That's part of what the title comes from. So I choose my experience. So I've developed my communication skills to such a degree that I can handle people with communication without having to go through all these other, options of anger or frustration or physical. So I just communicate with people in such a way. I call them like Jedi mind tricks. If you go that
Jedi
deep.
mind tricks. I like it. Okay.
So I do it with bums all the time. I just say no, and they just walk away.
Okay, now speaking of rage and revenge, some people feel like they just want to get even.
Right.
For example, someone robs your house. You're not necessarily thinking about, I want to rob their house back. You want justice.
Right.
But if someone cuts you off in traffic,
Right.
then you want to cut them off in traffic back. You want to get revenge.
Sure.
I mean, that happened to me one time. Oh my gosh, it was so terrible.
Yeah.
Driving, minding my business on the 15, and I'm going, and I'm in the far left lane, and I'm just going along,
Right.
and there's this Jeep behind me, and he's flashing his lights, and I'm like, okay, there's a truck next to us, so I'm going to not get a ticket, and I always go 90 anyway. That's what I do. So I was going 90, my speed limit,
You're going too
and
slow.
right. But apparently I was going too slow for him, and so I'm going, and I get over, and then the next thing you know, this Jeep, he speeds up, and then he passes me, and he gets in front of me, and then so I try to get over, and then he gets over this way,
Right.
and then gets over this way, and is literally trying to. I almost crashed a couple of times. It was so terrifying.
Right.
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know. And then I said, I'm going to pick up my phone. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to tweet about it. I'm going to talk about it. And then
Right.
as soon as I pulled up my phone, then he started to slow down and be easy. But he was literally doing this. And it was very, very scary. But that kind of rage and
Yeah.
revenge,
Yeah.
people with that, oh my gosh, that's terrible. So we're going to talk about that as soon as we come back from this quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more Millena the Talk Show.
The Las Vegas Review-Journal is the largest and most widely read and visited news and information source in Nevada. As the region's most trusted independent news media company, the award-winning Las Vegas Review-Journal has been serving Southern Nevadans for more than 100 years. The multimedia news, information, and entertainment company owns a strong portfolio of print and digital niche products, including The Neon, Luxury Las Vegas Magazine, El Tiempo, LVRJ.com. Visit mylvrj.com today.
Welcome back to Millena the Talk Show. Now, let's really get comfy. Let's really get real. I mean, I'm gonna need you to kick your shoes off, get comfortable. Yeah, kick them off. Nice rides you got on.
Thank you.
Nice kick.
That's what the kids are saying these days, huh?
That's their language. Now let's get real,
All right.
okay? Now, scientists have they've actually described anger and rudeness. They've described it as a neurotoxin. And once infected with this, that it makes people become more aggressive, less creative, and worse at their jobs.
Right.
And basically, the only way to end it is to make a conscious decision to do so. That's just what it is. So, in your experience, what causes people to be so rude?
Well, there's a two-pronged factor to that. So rudeness is from lack of manners. So people, again, they don't see that anyone is there but them. So if someone's speeding behind you and blowing you out of the way, it's because you don't matter and their life is more important than yours. So they can't see beyond themselves. But it's a thing of upbringing. It's a thing of culture and manners and this type of thing. And they don't have that part of life, and so that's what's missing. So it's incumbent on us to try to manage ourselves around those types of people, because they're a small percentage of the population, but we just tend to run into them every day.
Yeah, every day.
Every day.
Like, oh my gosh, all the time. They're just there. Okay, so it sounds easy, but sometimes it's not as easy as just, let it go, let it ride. It's just not that easy. Sometimes you really want revenge.
Yeah.
Like that guy who was cutting me off, I wanted revenge. And so I actually tried a little bit to do it to him, but then he didn't do it anymore. He saw my camera and he stopped and he was like, oh, never mind. I was like, well, doggone it, now I don't get to.
Got you amped up now.
Exactly. Now I'm all amped up and angry, but it's not okay. It's not healthy, but revenge is a side effect of rudeness. That's just what it is. So, I mean, when people's emotions escalate to rage, to revenge, okay, so what do you suggest? Like to bring them back to that Zen place, to get back to peace? Like, what would you have told me in that scenario?
Well, this is kind of where the advent of your religious background, of how you should treat others and your disciplines in life come in. These things are important because that's what makes us civilized. So the factor is that you're a civilized person and that person may not be acting in a civilized manner. So you have to control yourself even though that person is unable to control themselves. So it's just everything in life is a test of you being in control of yourself and staying on target for what you're trying to accomplish. And so you repeat that to yourself. I'm not going to let this person get me off of my goals. I'm not going to let them dissuade me from my happy place. That's why we have music, and that's why you stay focused. You just change your emotional tone by whatever works for you. Food could be music. It doesn't mean that it's not going to register, because you're supposed to have all of your emotions, but you have to be in control of your emotions, and that's why we have discipline and religion, so that you have something to fall back on, whereas that person may not have that.
Oh, so you're saying pray, or go to the gym, or phone a friend, or listen to music, and something like that will, take you back to that comforting, happy place. Okay.
Right. Yeah, because what happens is if you don't, then it's called transference. Someone's going to make you mad, then you're going to go home and kick the dog, and the dog is going to do something, and it's called a contagion of this aberration of anger.
Yeah.
And it just passes from the boss to the employee to the spouse or to the kids, and so you have to stop it by being in control of yourself.
Oh, that's true.
Or else it'll just spread.
It will.
And that's what happens with road rage. It just goes to the next person.
Mm-hmm. It goes to the next person. It's terrible. It's terrible. So, we're going to get to solutions. So I love your solution of just letting it go and just not letting them affect you.
Right.
I read that some people say just stop. They just say, see it, address it. If someone's cutting you in line, see it and address it. Say, hey, why are you cutting the person off? Why are you cutting in line? That's not okay.
Right.
So what do you say about that?
Well, and the first part of it is that you have to acknowledge that you are experiencing something. Like you can't, some people will tell you to just push it under the rug or act like it's not there. That's what makes it, the difference in implosive and explosive. Some people are explosive, and that's what your road rage is. And some people are implosive, where it just builds and builds and builds, and then it just comes out on someone else that's probably not even the target.
Right.
So the idea is that recognize that you've experienced something, feel your emotions, don't deny them, and then get back into control of yourself.
And there it is. So Jimmy, now you seem so in control. You seem all well put together. What is the worst thing that someone has that you just thought of, like, this person is making me crazy? What has happened to you, and how did you address it?
I have a couple of triggers. One is when people waste my time with illogical things that don't matter. Or if I'm talking to someone about fixing a car and they say, oh, God's going to fix my car. And I'm like, well, that's what the mechanic is there for. So when people are being illogical, that really gets on my nerves, because now I'm investing time. So I have a value assigned to my time. And so when someone starts wasting it, then I'm trying to unplug from that conversation. So that drives me crazy.
Right.
And the other thing is kind of, chivalrous, but I can't stand to see someone else taking advantage of someone else, so I'm always going to step in and handle that, because it's just, especially if that person can't defend themselves.
Oh, wow.
Because some people, like I said, when they get angry and they're out of control, they don't really care. They can't see that they're hurting someone. They're just running off of a program that tells them to behave that way, and they don't know how to stop it.
Wow.
But I can stop it.
Oh, you can stop it. How have you stopped it? How have you stopped it before?
Yeah, you have to do with communication.
Oh, communication.
But,
so you don't punch somebody's
it
lights
helps
out.
to be 6 foot tall and a little bit, I can make an angry face if I need to.
Oh, but you have such a kind face and a kind, gentle demeanor. It's just really hard to picture you being angry at people.
I try not to go there, but I have it on reserve if I need to.
Good to know. Good to know. He has them on reserve if need be. So I've also found that sometimes people have to realize that sometimes the rude person is you. Sometimes we're the ones that are being rude, so we have to take that into consideration. Some other suggestions was don't take it personally, like you said. It's their problem, not our problem. That's on them, and let that go. Finding out why. Maybe they've had a bad day, maybe they're rushing. Won't know unless you ask. Like, for example, and when I was reading this, I thought about maybe that's the way, because I know sometimes in the airport where I'm like, okay, I wish I could go in front. If someone's doing that, I could ask, why are you, trying to cut the line? Why are you trying to cut the line?
Right.
If the answer is, I'm missing my flight, then I can offer to help, offer a solution.
Right.
Why don't you go in front of me?
Right.
So that's something that was very interesting.
Yeah, the other thing I thought about having another trigger
What's
is
your
like
trigger?
when you talked about the airport.
Yeah.
When there's like 5 people in a group and they
Yeah.
just fan out across the whole way and nobody can get by. Like they're the
Yes.
only ones in the airport, or people
Yes.
that stop and have a communication right in the thoroughfare where people have to walk.
Yes,
You know,
what is
so
up with that?
That drives me crazy.
What do you do? What do you do?
You have to let it go because they're not aware. And if I catch myself doing something that I was mad at someone else about, then it's easier for me to go, see, they weren't aware, so I wasn't aware. So it's just a condition of being focused on what you're focused on.
Ah, that's it. The
Yeah.
condition of being focused on what you're focused on.
Yeah, so you give people a pass. That's the whole point of treating others like you would like to be treated.
And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Treating others with dignity and respect, and
Yeah.
treating them the way you want to be treated.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, Jimmy, for being my guest today
Sure.
on the episode about people who are obliviously obnoxious. And you've given us some real viable solutions on how to handle these people. So do you have any parting words, any last things you'd like to say, any advice for people with their life on how to get it together?
Sure. I live by a code of there's 2 rules for happy living. Number 1, be willing to experience anything. And number 2, cause only those things that other people can experience easily. There you go.
Say the last one again.
Cause only those things that other people can experience easily.
Okay.
So that way
Okay.
you're in control always.
I like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Jimmy, if anybody wants to utilize your life coaching services, how could they get in touch with you?
Best way is by cell phone. I'm old school, so I have Twitter pages and all that. So
If you want to give your cell phone out, you're welcome to.
sure, it's a business phone. So,
Okay.
but you can reach me at lifeauditing.com, or actually lifeauditing.org is the website, and then the number is 702-406-9768. That's the business number.
Okay. So lifeauditing.com. That's your website?
Yes.
That's how you help people get on track. Well, thank
That's
you.
right.
Thank you so much. You've helped us get on track today and helped us learn how to deal with obliviously obnoxious people, because they're everywhere,
out there.
all day, every day. So thank you for joining us on this episode of Millena the Talk Show. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much for being a
problem.
guest.
The Las Vegas Review-Journal is the largest and most widely read and visited news and information source in Nevada. As the region's most trusted independent news media company, the award-winning Las Vegas Review-Journal has been serving Southern Nevadans for more than 100 years. The multimedia news, information, and entertainment company owns a strong portfolio of print and digital niche products, including The Neon, Luxury Las Vegas Magazine, El Tiempo, LVRJ.com. Visit mylvrj.com today.